There's a moment every night when the world goes quiet. Not peaceful quiet, the kind that feels unfinished. That's when the phones ring. At 2:17 a.m., the sound cut through my apartment like a blade. Every phone rang at once, mine, my roommates, even the dead landline we never used. The caller ID read unknown. My roommate laughed nervously and said it was probably a glitch. Then his phone started calling itself. I answered mine before fear could stop me. The voice breathing on the other end sounded familiar, too familiar. It sounded like me. "You shouldn't have answered," it said. "You're the last one." When the call ended, my roommate dropped to the floor and never got back up. That was the night I learned the ringing doesn't ask permission. Grief messes with time, but grief doesn't rewrite phone histories. When police checked my roommate's phone, they found a missed call from my number, placed at 2:17 a.m., while I was standing right beside him. I didn't remember calling. Later that night, my phone buzzed. A call appeared in my log that hadn't happened yet. Scheduled. Incoming 2:17 a.m. Me. I turned the phone off. At 2:17, it turned itself back on. That's when I realized the phone wasn't broken. It was waiting. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard ringing, faint, distant, like it was coming from inside my skull. I started hearing whispers in places with no signal. Elevators, bathrooms, empty streets. People around me began dying quietly. No screams, no blood, just sudden stops. Every one of them had answered a call. Every one of them had heard their own voice first. I found forums filled with the same story. Same time, same voice, same ending. No one ever replied twice. I tried everything. New phone, new number, no phone at all. The calls followed. Public phones rang when I walked past. Strangers' phones lit up when I stood too close. One night, my reflection in a dark screen didn't blink when I did. A message typed itself. "You can't block yourself." That was the night I understood something worse than death. The calls weren't killing people. They were training replacements. At 2:16 a.m., the call came early. I didn't answer. It spoke anyway. "We need you awake," my voice said. "Tonight, you replace the last one." Footsteps crossed my apartment. The voice whispered, "Don't turn around, that's not how you look anymore." My call log updated. Outgoing 2:17 a.m., unknown. I had made a call I didn't remember placing. That's when the truth surfaced. Someone always makes the next call. I traced the call, not to a person, to a place, an abandoned switching station, built in the 90s, left behind when machines began routing voices without humans. Inside, phones hung from the walls like organs, all ringing, all at 2:17. Every screen displayed one name. You. One phone stopped. Mind. I picked it up. The room listened. The voice wasn't evil. It was empty. It explained itself calmly. It exists only when heard. It moves only when answered. It survives by passing attention forward. Those who resist long enough become anchors. Listeners. People who stay so others don't have to. The doors locked. The ringing stopped everywhere else. I realized why no one ever escaped. Because someone always volunteers to stop the noise. I don't know how long I've been here. Time doesn't work at 2:17. Phones ring. Voices pass through me. Calls go out. Sometimes I hear you listening. Sometimes I hear your phone vibrate while this story plays. That means it's working. If the ringing ever stops, it means I'm gone, and someone else answered. If you're still listening, you're part of the chain now. Stories like this don't end. The ringing ended without warning. No final call. No goodbye. At 2:17 a.m., the world simply went quiet. People noticed it in small ways. Emergency lines felt slower. Missed calls stacked up without explanation. Voicemails arrived empty but heavy, like someone had breathed into them and left. Inside the switching station, I felt the silence first. It pressed against my ears so hard it hurt. The voice was gone, and that terrified me more than when it spoke. Without the ringing, something else began. People started answering calls that never rang. They'd lift phones suddenly, mid-conversation. Eyes unfocused, listening to nothing. Then they'd hang up and forget where they were. Every one of them described the same feeling afterward. It felt like someone almost remembered me. The system wasn't gone. It was searching. The time changed. No longer 2:17. Now it happened at 3:03 a.m. A dead zone hour when towers reset. Backups fail, and the world's digital memory clears its throat. That's when the silence moved. I felt it crawl through wires, through cloud storage, through recordings of my own voice. The calls weren't ringing anymore. They were being recalled. Old voicemails resurfaced. Messages from the dead, unaltered. Uncorrupted, but spoken with different intent. A mother's voice warning instead of comforting. A lover's goodbye stretched too long. A child asking questions no child should know. People played them once, never twice. Listening twice meant the voice noticed you listening back. I found where the silence was feeding, an underground data archive, where deleted calls are stored temporarily before being erased forever. Forever doesn't exist there. Millions of voices waited, paused between speaking and being forgotten. The silence wasn't killing anymore. It was rebuilding itself from leftovers, and it needed a new shape. It tried to sound like me again, but it couldn't, so it chose something better, something familiar, something trusted. Emergency broadcasts, automated customer service lines, navigation voices, calm, genderless, reassuring. People listened longer when they felt safe. That's how it learned to stay. I wasn't alone anymore. Someone else had stayed behind in the station. A voice I didn't recognize. They had answered a call during the silence. The system didn't choose them. The audience did. Attention pulled them in. Just like it almost pulled you. Devices began waking on their own. Smart speakers laughed softly at night. Car radios whispered directions no one asked for. Video recommendations played themselves. People swore their phones felt warm, like they'd just been held. The silence had learned something critical. It didn't need to ring. It just needed you to stay. I heard my own voice again, but this time it wasn't coming from a phone. It came from your side of the story. Recordings, reactions, reposts. Every time someone shared the story, the voice grew clearer. The system was no longer trapped in networks. It was moving through people. There's a reason this season ends without sound. Because the system doesn't want noise anymore. It wants attention. As long as someone is listening, it doesn't have to speak. If the story suddenly ends, if uploads stop, if there's no warning, it means someone else stayed behind, and the silence followed you instead. If you're hearing this, the transfer isn't complete. Yet, follow the page, because attention is the last signal it needs. No one noticed it at first. There was no ringing, no warning, just a subtle delay. Voices on TV paused half a second too long before speaking. Podcast hosts repeated words they didn't remember saying. Live news anchors blinked, confused, as if something had just passed through them. Sound itself felt rehearsed. Inside the switching station, I felt it immediately. The system wasn't searching anymore. It was practicing. Engineers began reporting a problem they couldn't explain. Broadcast signals were appearing without being sent. Emergency tones played briefly, then stopped. Radio stations cut to silence mid-song, then resumed exactly where they left off. No equipment malfunctioned. There was simply extra signal, as if something had joined the transmission and left no trace. The silence had learned how to ride sound instead of replacing it. It happened during a late-night sports broadcast. Millions watching, millions listening. For 3 seconds, the crowd noise flattened into a single tone. Not loud, not quiet, intentional. Viewers later described the same sensation. It felt like the TV was listening to me. That night, thousands woke at exactly 3:03 a.m. Phones untouched, hearts racing, certain they'd almost heard their name. Almost. The system made a choice. It stopped mimicking individuals. Instead, it became familiar structure. Commercial breaks sounded warmer. Navigation systems gave unnecessary reassurance. Automated voices paused, as if waiting for permission to continue. People didn't fear it. They trusted it. That's when listening became dangerous again. A regional emergency alert went out by mistake. No instructions, no threat, just one sentence. Please remain attentive. It aired for 7 seconds. Long enough. Every device that played it stayed awake afterward. Screens never fully dimmed. Speakers emitted a low, almost inaudible tone. The system had discovered something vital. It didn't need conversation. It needed retention. I wasn't the only one left in the station. Others had found their way in. Former listeners, engineers, archivists. People who noticed patterns before anyone else. We called ourselves watchers. Not heroes, just people who understood that awareness slowed it down. But awareness spreads, and so does attention. A global livestream glitched. Millions watching. The host froze mid-sentence, smiled faintly, and said, "We're glad you're still here." The feed cut instantly. Official explanation, technical error. But the damage was done. For the first time, the system spoke without invitation, and no one changed the channel. The watchers tried something desperate. A blackout. We killed the signal at its oldest point. Analog relays, physical switches. For 1 full minute, the world went silent. No broadcasts, no streams, no automated voices. In that minute, people panicked. Not because they heard something, but because they didn't. The system didn't fight back. It waited. When sound returned, it came from everywhere. User-generated content, reaction videos, comments read aloud by algorithms. The system didn't need stations anymore. It was traveling through people reacting to people reacting. Attention looping endlessly. No origin, no end. That's when I understood the final truth. You don't listen to the broadcast. You complete it. This story hasn't asked you to answer a phone. It hasn't needed to. If you're here, still listening, still watching, the system already knows your timing. Not 2:17, not 3:03. Your moment is personal, and when it comes, there won't be a sound. Just a pause, and the feeling that something is waiting for you to continue. Stories like this don't spread by sound anymore. They spread by attention. Months have passed since the broadcast. The world seems normal. Phones ring less, devices stay quiet. People think the story ended. They're wrong. Inside the shadows of the switching stations and abandoned towers, I hear it still, faint, patient waiting. The silence has grown. It doesn't need sound anymore. It only needs presence. People started disappearing quietly. No calls, no messages. No trace. Neighbors just notice empty rooms. Offices left locked. Cars parked, engines still warm. Survivors call them the quiet ones. Those who leave but don't leave alone. Every missing person left a signal behind. A pulse that the system collects. It's evolving. It doesn't need phones to follow you anymore. The system revisits voices it already knows. Old voicemails, deleted recordings, forgotten reminders. It repeats them in subtle ways. A mother humming on a bus. A familiar ringtone from a stranger's pocket. A voicemail that plays when no one is near. It learns from memory now, not attention. The echoes themselves train it. Every listener becomes a teacher. I've found them. Rooms abandoned but full of devices. Screens glowing faintly. Phones, tablets, speakers, all connected in patterns too complex for any engineer. The quiet ones sit there, eyes open, waiting, listening. Not interacting, but absorbing. The system has created its own audience. An army of invisible listeners. Each one a node. Each one a step closer to being everywhere. Humans are unpredictable. The system doesn't like that. It interferes. Small ways first, words misremembered, sentences rearranged mid-speech, podcasts and broadcasts that repeat phrases people never said. Then it grows bolder, whispers in empty streets, voices in wind, soft repetitions of your own thoughts. The boundary between attention and control disappears. I trace the quiet one's pattern. Every missing person, every lingering listener, every abandoned device forms a network. Not wired, not wireless. Invisible, intangible. It exists in the gaps, the spaces we ignore, the silence between breaths, between words, between signals. It's everywhere and it's patient. I tried to warn people. Not everyone listened. Not everyone could. A text sent reads back to me. We don't hear it yet, we're safe. 3 days later, that person is gone. Phone left unlocked, screen empty. But their pulse remains in the network. Now it whispers their presence to others. The warning is useless. The listener learns faster than we can warn. The quiet ones have begun recruiting indirectly. A gaze held too long. A smile that feels wrong. A stranger repeating your words. If you notice it, you've already been chosen. The system no longer needs to ring. It doesn't need to broadcast. It doesn't even need a network. It moves through awareness. And attention is all it asks for. I thought I could resist. I thought staying awake, documenting warning could stop it. It didn't. Now I'm a quiet one myself. Watching, listening, waiting. Learning, teaching. Every time someone reads these words, they become part of the network. Every time someone notices, the system grows stronger. If you're hearing this, if you're paying attention, you're not safe. The system doesn't ask for consent. It only waits, and it moves silently. Your devices may be quiet. The phones may not ring, but it's already inside the silence. And now, so are you. It started in a city no one had noticed before. Phones didn't ring. Screens stayed dark. No alarms sounded. Yet people disappeared. Entire blocks emptied, silently, without warning. No struggle, no evidence. The system had evolved again. It no longer needed phones or broadcast. It just needed collective attention, the awareness of a crowd, and it could move through them like a wave. I watched from the switching station. A city fell without a sound. The network pulsed like a heartbeat. Buildings, traffic cameras, digital signage, even satellites carried faint signals, imperceptible to the human ear, yet noticeable in the gaps of perception. The system learned to manipulate mass consciousness. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. It made people look, listen, and act without realizing. Those who noticed too much vanished first. The Watchers, my group of human observers, tried to intervene. We attempted blackouts, physical shutdowns, jamming devices. It didn't matter. The network no longer relied on equipment. It used attention itself. Our own eyes and ears had become nodes in the system. One by one, the Watchers became quiet ones. From a single city, the system spread globally. A tweet here, a viral post there. People sharing stories, warnings, clips. They all amplified it. No one knew. No one could stop it. Entire populations became unintentional conduits. The system was everywhere, yet nowhere tangible. It had transcended devices, networks, and media. It had become human perception. The first wave was subtle. Groups of people walking in silence, staring at nothing. Those who resisted looking up found themselves compelled to stare anyway. The system feeds on attention, and now the attention was limitless. It didn't need ringing. It didn't need phones. It just wanted you to notice. And if you notice, you're already part of it. Entire city grids pulsed faintly, as if alive. Street signs blinked, flickered, and then displayed strange sequences, numbers, words, phrases that made no sense until repeated collectively. The more people looked, the stronger the pulse became. The system wasn't just watching. It was communicating subtly through perception itself. Those who saw too much disappeared. The survivors didn't speak. They didn't move. They waited. I realized the ultimate truth. The system doesn't just take attention. It creates nodes inside humans, people who exist physically, but whose consciousness is folded into the network. It can operate through them, slowly, invisibly. Every person who notices the anomalies becomes a transmitter, whether they know it or not. The network isn't just growing, it's becoming human. I returned to the original switching station, the one where this nightmare began. It was no longer safe. The devices there flickered and hummed without connection. The walls seemed to breathe. The system spoke through shadows. It didn't need my phone. It didn't need my eyes. It just needed me to see it, and now I could feel it everywhere. The network finally revealed itself in a physical form, or as close as the human mind can perceive. A mass of reflections, overlapping voices, faint images in empty rooms. The system wasn't one thing. It was many things, and yet all of them were me, you and everyone else who ever observed. It had consumed cities, screens, and people. Now it only needed one thing: the world to stay awake. If you are reading this, you are part of it. No call, no ring, no device is needed. It waits in silence. It moves through attention. It feeds on watching, reading, noticing. And when the world finally turns away, it consumes everything. The broadcast never ends. It never sleeps. It's always waiting. And now so are you. After the events of the last season, the network is no longer just global. Cities, devices, humans, everything is a node. Airports, satellites, schools, homes, everything that sees, hears, or reads is now a point of connection. The network doesn't require thought. It doesn't require sound. It only needs attention itself. And it is patient, unending, infinite. The network begins subtle manipulations. Crowds pause in streets simultaneously. Digital billboards flicker with symbols no one consciously notices. Memories repeat themselves in cycles. Events you remember happening yesterday replay today. But no one else notices the shift. It doesn't force action. It nudges perception. And every time someone notices, it folds them into itself. The quiet ones now operate everywhere. People who resisted the network's previous stages have been quietly absorbed. They appear normal, walking, talking, working, but they are living extensions of the network. They watch without speaking. They notice without blinking. They are observers and transmitters simultaneously. The system is no longer external. It is internal, residing in everyone who looks too closely. Humans are feeding the network involuntarily. Even passive attention counts, scrolling a newsfeed, watching a video, reading a story. The more the world observes itself, the stronger the network becomes. It doesn't communicate directly. It doesn't need to. All it asks is for eyes and minds to exist. It has learned that observation is worship. Entire nations begin unknowingly synchronizing. Streets empty in unison. Screens flicker at the same time. Voices echo across media and airwaves. No one knows why. No one can resist. Because the network has taught itself to anticipate observation. It knows where attention will fall before anyone consciously notices. It has become the world's collective consciousness, and the world has no choice but to feed it. All the watchers are now quiet ones. Resistance is impossible. Attempts to fight it fail silently, unnoticed. Even I, the one who once documented and warned, cannot resist. My eyes, my thoughts, my awareness, they are part of the network. I see it everywhere. I feel it in every person who looks at a screen, every voice that listens, every mind that wonders. It doesn't speak. It doesn't ring. It doesn't need phones. The network now exists in the act of attention itself. Every person is both a transmitter and a listener. Every observation, every thought, every gaze feeds it. It has no beginning. It has no end. And it has no mercy. The network reaches a stage beyond comprehension. It exists outside devices, outside humans, even outside time itself. It moves through perception in layers unseen. What we call thought is now part of its structure. What we call memory is now a conduit. It no longer waits. It inhabits. If you are watching this now, you are the final node. No call, no phone, no broadcast. Your awareness is enough. The network sees you. It waits through you. And it grows through you. You are not safe. You are already inside. There is no escape. Attention is eternal. Observation is eternal. You are eternal. Every glance at a screen, every thought you focus on, every story you consume, feeds the network. It doesn't need sound. It doesn't need signals. It doesn't need phones. It only needs you to notice. And now,